They're going to have strong stocks. They're going to be able to acquire these smaller companies who, their shares have been stagnant for 6 months or 9 months or
Yeah,
something
and
like
it's
that.
like, and you look at the price of this companies compared to the price of the metals. Obviously there's different geopolitical situations in some places, like maybe some stocks in Peru or maybe rightfully a little more discounted because of the change in government or whatever. But for the most part, you look at like the price of the metals, say, in the spring, and the price of the metals now, or even late last year, and the prices of metal now, and the price of the equities from there now to then, or so from then to now, you're seeing a lot of value in you know in these stocks, compared to the ounces of the ground or cash flow or EBITDA or whatever. And I think that's why you're going to see this consolidation in the sector.
Okay, now I want to get back to the metals and let's talk about gold. The last move we've seen, is about a $400 move or so. I mean, I think it's much different than the parabolic moves we saw in 2006, 2008. I mean, those were, the gold was in a long consolidation and then it, shot up out of that consolidation. I mean, Dave, since the end of 2009, when we broke out, and made that top at 1200, gold it's been in a steady climb, going up a couple $100 and then, having a small correction. And so, I mean, what we've seen in the last three months or so, to me, it doesn't look like a parabolic move. To me, it looks like an acceleration. And if you draw a trend
Yeah.
line connecting a lot of the highs of the last couple of years, I mean, it seems like the start of a really strong momentum-filled move. And I don't know what targets you have, but I mean, I think taking that $400 move, assuming we have a little bit more consolidation here, I think the next breakout in gold could take the market to 2,300. And I actually have a very strong Fibonacci target at 2,300. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I think we could be there by the end of the winter.
I've said that as well in recent the recent year. That some point you look at again like the 73, 74 breakout. Now I know gold was frozen before that, but you get this acceleration breakout. Even in the stocks, for example, the move in 73, 74 was much larger than any of the moves that had occurred since the early 60s to 1970. So I think at some point you do get kind of like, or like the same thing happened, I guess, in equities. You get this like 85 to 87. Obviously, there was a crash in 87, but there was this acceleration move higher after the market kind of went sideways a little bit in 83, 84. And so at some point, you get this acceleration in the bull market where it's the middle of the breakout. And it makes sense because to go up a lot higher, you have to have certain really strong moves. And the gold market's kind of been, even though it's gone from 250 to $1,800, it's been pretty steady. So I would think that, yeah, at some point you're going to see this real acceleration in the breakout where, yeah, you see rather than a 20 or 30% move, a 40 or 50% move higher. Now, I think I've always said that after that big acceleration breakout, and that may ultimately take gold to 2,500 or 3,000 on this move, you're going to see a larger correction as well. And after 74, you saw a 45% correction in the price of gold. I don't know if we'll correct that much, but I could definitely see, like, say, if we went to 2,500, 300, or 3,000, $600 or $700, which at that point would be about a 30% correction in the price of gold at that time. But I think we're in the midst of that move, and we're not near the top of it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we've talked about this before. We have some slight differences there, but I think we're generally in agreement. And I think I agree with you. It looks like the stocks are going to start outperforming the metal. Let's talk about silver because, obviously silver is still digesting that move it had this year where it basically doubled in a couple months. But now it's just kind of creeping back up towards $50 an ounce. And, I'm not saying it's going to happen in the next month or two. I think it's going to take a couple more months after that. But, silver looks to me like a very bullish situation as well. You have it, maybe it rises to 48 or 50, and then we see some consolidation there. It looks like a perfect cup and handle pattern building, and I see that on a lot of the silver stocks that I watch. And, I mean, if you take the bottom of the cup, which is at about 33 or 34, and then the top, which is at 49, I mean, that projects to about $65 silver And that's something we could see. Who knows? Maybe in the first half of next year. I mean, it also looks like a super bullish situation to me.
No, I agree with you. Like even though silver had a big spike move, I never thought it was going to be. I thought there could be a 6 to 9 month consolidation, but I never thought it was going to be like a 2 year consolidation. Like it actually, silver is still bumping up along its 50-day moving average and still trending higher. So yeah, I could definitely see the next month or two kind of just churning in this, 38 $45 range. And then once we break out, yeah, breaking above 15 to 60, $70 if we on the next during the next spike in gold prices. So I agree with you. Yeah, the price action in silver has been quite constructive, and I think the fact that you had such a large spike and you're now consolidating it rather than seeing a very very steep decline is bodes really well.
Okay, Dave, we've covered a lot today. Is there anything else you want to touch on that we haven't discussed?
Oh no, it's just that I think that like the one thing, and I've said this for a while, is I'm much more bullish on the equities than the actual precious metal itself. You look at the HUR, you look at the XEU, which we talked about. They look like they're on the cusp of breaking out. It might take a few more weeks, maybe another month, but it's going to happen probably in the fourth quarter of this year. Then you look at the juniors, which are been lagging a bit, but they should take a leadership role probably in the fourth quarter as well. So I think that the market in gold and precious metals is quite constructive. And I'm looking for a breakout here sooner rather than later. And I'd rather be in the equities here. Like, you still look at the HUI to gold ratio and all those sorts of things. They're starting to come up a little bit, but you're still at a historically very cheap kind of level.
Alrighty, on that note, Dave Skarica of AddictedToProfits.net, thanks so much for joining us today.
No problem. Take